Hi guys, today I'm going to do a quick book review on the book Holes by Louis Sachar. Now, I must admit I'd heard plenty about this book. It was a book that was released in 99, 2000 in the UK, so I just missed doing it as a book in Year 6 myself when I was at school. But I'd heard lots of good things about it, and the Year 6s at my current school have been reading this book over the last couple of years. Essentially, it's a book centering around a main character called Stanley Yalnuts. Now, Stanley is sent to Camp Green Lake, a correctional facility, essentially for stealing a pair of trainers. Now, Stanley is convinced that he didn't steal this pair of trainers and feels a great sense of injustice about this. When Stanley arrives at Camp Green Lake, and the book starts in this way, it appears that there is no lake at Camp Green Lake. It's a vast, dry, barren land where the boys that are sent there are charged with the task of digging a hole every day that is 5 foot deep and 5 foot each side around. Stanley meets a range of characters at Camp Green Lake, one of which is a chap known as Zero. Now, the book flashes between present day and past. And as the book sort of evolves, you realise that Stanley Yalnuts and Zero actually have more in common than they probably first realised. They are from a line of ancestors whose paths crossed in the past in a very, very interesting way. Now, initially it seems that they're just purely digging for punishment, but it does emerge that there is a real reason they're digging, and the fact that the warden is so interested in any findings does show that there might well be something a little bit more interesting in the ground there. Now, I won't go into too much detail, I won't ruin the book, but I will say that it is a book that I found myself turning page. I read it in a day, essentially. It was one I found a really easy read, but a really enthralling read. The way they flashed between past and present day was really exciting. There was essentially some old sort of folklore or some old family tales and very contrasting settings between sort of present and past, which I found really, really interesting. There were parallels to be drawn between Stanley Yalnuts' ancestors and himself. There were really strong links to friendships and finding those close relationships in unlikely and difficult situations. There was the sort of the element of graft and working hard, and the importance of perhaps sticking to a job however difficult it may seem. There was the sense of justice and right and wrong, and it got me thinking how children could perhaps relate to this in some way themselves, and how that might be interesting. And above all, it was a really lovely adventure story in some ways, where Stanley Yalnuts and Zero were battling the conditions, battling the elements themselves to overcome adversity and discover the truth and prove that they were right and the warden perhaps wasn't. So it's a lovely, lovely book. It's a book that I'm going to be putting in my classroom. It's a book that I know my class will really, really enjoy. And I know there's a couple of follow-ups to this book, building on the characters themselves and finding out a little bit more about their stories. So yeah, Louis Sachar, Holes, brilliant book. Really, really enjoyed it. Read it really quickly. And if you haven't read it already, please, please do. Thank you for watching, guys. If you've enjoyed, please hit subscribe. Always grateful for any feedback. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.